Well, great evening, everyone, and welcome again to Building Blocks for the Future. And tonight, again, we'll be having a discussion about learning over the winter break, and we'll be discussing some ideas to keep your little ones or your young ones engaged while they're out for the winter break. Again, my name is Anissa Smith, and joining me tonight and facilitating will be Angela Lewis, and Sarah Bagley is our subject matter expert. And so we'll have some dialogue. We're going to have some questions, some things that we're going to be discussing that hopefully will give you some ideas and some thoughts, and to keep your little ones occupied and keep their learning engaged over the holiday season that which is coming up. So I'm going to let Angela and Sarah introduce themselves. So Angela, why don't you introduce yourself, and then Sarah, you can introduce yourself following Angela.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm Angela Lewis, and I am currently a realtor in the Virginia area, Northern Virginia, to be more specific. And I have been a substitute teacher in Prince William County, which is a county located about 25 miles south of DC. So I'm here to maybe shed some light on some of the information that we're going to discuss tonight, but I'm going to turn over to the expert, Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I have been in the field of education for 23 years now, working with pre-kindergarten through sixth grade students. I have served as a math coach, elementary math coach. I've also worked as a classroom teacher, worked with alternative education students, technology coordinator, and most recently, I'm an instructional specialist where my primary focus is working with kindergarten through second grade teachers and students with intervention in both reading and math.
Okay, great. Well, as Anissa said, the holidays are upon us, and people are getting their last minute shopping done and things like that. So, of course, there's going to be a lot of high energy among the kids because they're getting excited about Christmas. They're getting excited, you know, um, whatever way they may celebrate the holiday. But as far as, getting them ready, particularly, with Christmas, um, what can how can parents encourage through play, during the winter break? Like, are there age appropriate activities that can be incorporated into playtime? Um, just what are some examples of like maybe everyday objects that parents can use to help them learn during this time?
Um, so many different things, and that kind of also depends on the age of the child and the maturity level of the child. Um, Simple things as a deck of cards can be turned into from a regular game to a math game. When you're looking at a basic deck of 52 cards, looking at how can we play the matching game, a memory game, remembering that. Being able to sort your cards by colors, by the different suits and shades. I used to even do with my sixth graders, I would use a deck of cards, and most cards come in red and black. And we did negative and positive numbers. So having to order your deck of cards from least to greatest or greatest to least. So different things that way. Just kind of quick games, just basic card games. Probability. What's the chance that this is going to kind of come out this way? So just fun activities you can do. Um, Uno is a great game because you're dealing with matching colors, you're matching numbers, you're dealing with probability, you're dealing, and it depends on if you play Uno based on the way Uno says you play Uno, or if you have house rules. Now, I play house rules with Uno. Uno said you don't do this, but I play Uno my version. So It's like the draw two, draw two, draw two. And so, but even in that, it's like, oh, we're doing this for math. So how many numbers are you going to draw now if I put three draw twos down? So, like I said, Uno's a great one because most kids love Uno. And once they get the hang of what's going on, they're able to understand how to navigate that. But you're also matching colors in Uno.
Hmm.
You're matching numbers, you're matching shapes. So they're good, fun games that way that can be done. The game Trouble is another good one because as you're pushing it, you've got the number popping up, announcing the number, and then the one-to-one correspondence of being able to move your little peg around. That also helps when it comes to fine motor skills because that peg is so small that kids
Hmm.
to pick it up and kind of move.
Right.
Lots of board games can really be used educationally, but also fun where kids are learning and enjoying without realizing they're learning because they're having fun.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's key. And that's one thing I was thinking about is making sure that it's kept fun for them. And, that would obviously help them keep them engaged. Um, what are some of the simple ways to incorporate reading and writing into the daily routines during the winter break? Is that a challenge during that time because their mind is on the holiday? How does that work?
It, so with that, I would say hopefully there's a routine already in place during the school year. And if so, keep that routine going. If not, it's a good time to get a routine started.
Mm,
So have a book that at bedtime that as a parent and a child, you have reading time together.
okay.
It could be right on down to having the child read to you, you read to the child. It may be as simple as, okay, it's family reading time. So we're all going to cut the TV off and we're going to sit down around wherever and we're going to read together. It could be something as simple as, hey, write about your day. If you have, and even if there's a child who as young as 3 and 4, they can still do that. It's inventive writing, inventive spelling. So have them kind of draw a picture about your day. And as they just kind of, they all pretend right. Oh, tell me what this says. Oh, it says that mommy went to the store and we got cabbage and soda. And now, none of those letters might be on that paper, but that's what they're kind of doing. And they're pretending to write, and they kind of write under that with them as well. So doing things like that, just a basic journaling with the kids. Okay, let's just write about our day. Let's write about what do you want to do today. Perhaps even let's make a list of things we want to do. So that's a way of kind of getting them writing, but it also
Hmm.
helps those fine motor skills because one of the things that we're seeing is our kids aren't writing as much as they used to be. Because everything is they're typing, they're on the computers, they're on their phones, they're on their tablets. So actually finding pen and paper in the house. I know sometimes I'm scrambling trying to find. I have paper. I'm like, oh, where are my pens? But
Yeah.
because we're so used to typing, but getting back
Hmm.
to actually having them right. If they're third grade on up, particularly, one of the things that has been a big um, debate over the years is that and I'm going to say society, I'm not going to say parents, I'm going to say society as a whole are complaining that we're not teaching cursive.
Hmm.
Well, some are, some aren't. It's part of it is trying to get the time in the curriculum. So this would be a great time to, as a parent, work with your child on cursive. You can literally Google cursive worksheets or cursive worksheets and handwriting sheets and print them off and have the kids kind of practice. So it may even be teaching cursive with your kids and and I guarantee your child's teacher will not be upset if they come back and say, my mommy taught me cursive. I learned that will not be something that a teacher will be upset about because that
Okay.
learn cursive. You may find that, hey, we want to learn. One of the things I said I was going to even try to practice also was learn calligraphy, uh,
Oh,
which is a different thing. It's like, okay,
oh,
because it's that fancy kind of artsy way of writing, and it kind of gives them a little cursive, but it gives them art. And if they learn calligraphy, they're like, I mean, they're going to love that because it's beautiful. It is absolutely, it's an art form. And so
right.
kids may not feel as much pressure with that because they're kind of getting the strokes and it's kind of very soothing and relaxing. So that's another thing that parents can kind of do to get the reading and the writing even over the break, but kind of keep that routine going where they should be reading, especially by third or fourth, for at least 30 minutes per day. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're looking at 20 to 30 minutes per day of reading, and when they're reading, ensuring that what they're reading is something that they're able to handle and read. A rule of thumb I would teach my kids is they would pick up a book to read, and that's okay, read the first page. If you're getting to that first page or paragraph five or more words you do not know or cannot pronounce, then that's beyond your level, your independent level. So if they're stumbling over more than five words, okay, let's back up. Let's find a book that you might be able to read independently, or it's one that we can read together. And so
Mm-hmm.
as they're reading the story or reading to you, making note and asking questions. Okay, let's pause. What just happened in the story? What do you think is going to happen? Who are the
Mm-hmm.
characters? What's the setting? And it may be, okay, we're going to stop here. What do you think might happen next? Okay, let's stop here. We'll pick it up tomorrow. And a good chapter book and kind of getting them going and engaged that way. There are audiobooks, there are things Epic is one, Pebble Learning Ally, and even as far as iReady. And there are a lot of websites that even teachers have and schools already have in place with the reading that the story will read to them and also highlight the words for them as well as they're going. So they're hearing it and seeing it. But the biggest thing is actually getting them as they're listening, but to get to that independent part of reading, but also modeling the reading. So you're reading together and then asking those questions. It's great if they can read and decode, but if they're not understanding what they're reading, then it's just words.
Right, right. You mentioned the motor skills. That's one of the things when I was doing the tutoring, especially working with the first graders. I had a few of them that, I mean, just the concept of holding a pencil, just, it's like, they didn't really know what to do. And then I've seen these little, and I'm sure you've seen these gadgets where they put it on the pencil. It's like a little
The
rubber
pencil
piece,
grip.
and yeah.
Yes.
So I've noticed that seemed to be what a lot of them use. And then I think there was a great idea about calligraphy, suggesting that one. That's pretty good. What about math? What are some of the activities that they can do, when it comes to math or, learning during the holidays?
So again, a deck of cards is so many math lessons you can do with a deck of cards.
Yeah,
If
okay,
you've
yeah.
got kindergarten, 4, 5, 6 years old, it may be throw a card out. Okay, let's count.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're counting. You see the five, that's count, and actually the one-to-one correspondence.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll put two cards down, and they can add them. So, and then there's one that you can do where, okay, so if you and I are playing, and we put our cards down, I turn a card, you turn a card over. Whoever can add it quickly, you get those two cards.
Mm-hmm.
So capturing cards that way. It may be that I turn two cards down, you turn two cards down, I add mine, you add yours, whoever has the greater number. Um, 3 and 7 is 10. You have a 4 and 2, you have 6. 10 is greater than 6. I have all the cards. So that's another kind of activity that can be done. As they're getting older, you can use some multiplication. So now let's
Mm-hmm.
multiply the cards. So I have 4, 3 times 4, 12. So getting those basic facts in where they're actually kind of playing a card game
Mm-hmm.
is a great way of doing math. Basic counting. Let's just count today. Let's count by ones. There's one of the things we do. It's called, and one of the math programs we use, they call it happy counting, I think it's called. But basically, what happens is you're looking at counting. And so you may say, today we're going to count by ones. And so if your thumb is up, you count forward. If it's down, you count backwards. So they may go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 4, and just kind of
Oh.
basic kind of counting that way. Skip counting. One of the games that my kids loved was called Buzz. And so I would say we're going to play Buzz. And I started by fives because that was the easier one to kind of play by, but it's doing the multiples. And so we
Mm-hmm.
would go around the circle and they would buzz on that multiple. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, buzz, 6, 7, 8, 9, buzz.
Okay.
And the goal was to get to 100. So getting different multiples of count, so it's skip counting by threes, by fives, by sevens are good math games. Another thing, and I've even encouraged my teachers to do, is when they're counting, skip counting, okay, we're going to count by tens today, but we're going to start with 23.
Oh, okay. That's
And
different.
let's count by tens with 23. They're like, wait, what? Okay, 23, 33, 40. But just getting those basic fluency a part of counting is a great thing as well.
Mm-hmm.
So little
Okay.
cute things that you can do. And there are things around the house. You don't have to necessarily have um the counting bears and the base 10 blocks, but if you've got pencils, making bundles, making groups. When you're
Mm-hmm.
going to the grocery store, take the kids with you. And I know I'm saying something bold. Take the kids to the grocery store with you. I know it's a little scary taking the kids to the
Yep.
store with you,
Yep. Yep.
but let's look for looking at gallons of milk. Okay, how much do you think it's going to cost? Let's kind of make an estimate. Let's actually go through. Oh, this is half off. How much is this going to be? Now,
Mm-hmm.
this may be a challenge for us as adults as well because we don't, we're used, but just kind of doing that together. Um,
Yeah.
if you're having cash when you go to the store and you're paying with cash, make the child count the cash back, change back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, have change around. Let's count the coins. How much is this worth? How much is that? So different things like that are good, and they're good basic, even life skills to
Mm-hmm.
kind of get our kids to have. So those are good, some math things that could be done over the break and throughout, not just on the break, but just good skills to kind of do and kind of reinforce what's being taught and some things that they may have missed or maybe they haven't gotten to yet, but they'll be able to get to once they get it, they have that foundation.
Okay. And it's interesting that you mentioned cash because I'm sure the kids, they all see that swipe the card, and that's definitely a good idea. What about parents and technology? What are some of the things that they can do to help their kids? Are there websites or apps that you can recommend where parents can use the technology to help?
So there are, and the Avid School District has even on their website lists of games and activities that kids can do.
Mm-hmm.
I know with some schools, a lot of schools, iReady. iReady is a great program where the kids are actually getting reading and math practice and skills that way. There's one I think it's called Epic, which is one they can
Okay.
get online books. Um, your public library. Overdrive is one where you can also get books that way. iExcel is a good one. Some sites you do have to pay for, some is free. But those are good things right there. ABC, I think it's called ABC Math, are good math games. But at the same time, what I would encourage is over the break is to pull back from technology as much as possible and get back to the old-fashioned way of let's just have a conversation, let's write, let's talk, let's go outside, let's enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Because our kids are inundated with technology. I almost think that they're born and by 6 months they can swipe and find things that we can't find. You go, how in the world did that child get on that? But
Yeah.
they're not afraid of it. But our kids, they have the technology. I would encourage pull back from technology somewhat
Okay.
during the break. One, to get them a break from screen time. I mean, they're in front of their PS5s and they've got the tablets and they've got the phones and they're in the screen 24, almost 24/7. And so there's research that's looking at what is the technology doing to even the brain? Like what's
Mm-hmm.
happening with the eyes? What are we taking in? So if we can pull back and actually take a break from that as much as possible, I would highly encourage that just because it's the break. So if you're getting back to those board games and things that way, those actual family time, and also pulling back from technology helps build their social skills.
Mm-hmm.
Too
Yes, it
often we see
does.
our kids looking down, their thumbs work great. They've got the thumb motion works.
Yep.
But when it comes to having a conversation,
Hmm.
looking someone in the eye, shaking hands, speaking when you walk in the room.
Hmm.
Those are things that's basic manners that we most of us grew up with are lacking, and some of that is because it's not necessarily needed when they're on screen. So if we can pull back from technology as much as possible during the break, and I'm not saying go cold turkey that they can't do it at
Right.
all.
Right.
Um, because I know for some parents it's a mental break for them. Just go sit down and read or listen to go just it kind of gives them that moment as well. But as much as possible, I would say pull back from the technology and get back to the old-fashioned way of let's go outside, let's go for a walk, let's enjoy each other.
Okay. Yeah, and that I mean, and yeah, our social skills, yeah, we can, that's something I definitely agree with. That can definitely, that can be worked on. And, you can tell one of the things, again, being a substitute teacher, one of the fun things I always like is watching the kids at recess. No iPads, give them a ball, they
Yes,
will chase the ball all across I mean, just run and play, or just games that they make up themselves. Like,
yes.
games like we played, they go to the playground, they're sliding down the sliding board. So it definitely can be done. And like I said, I used to just stand there and smile and watch them just get so engaged without the technology.
Yes.
So it can be done. And they're in field day, when they have field day and they're
Oh,
out
they
there,
love field
oh my
day.
goodness. Yeah. Yeah. So that's definitely something that's needed. Um, what about science experiments? Can you suggest any science experiments that they can do indoors, or some kind of fun? Not too, messy, but
Oh,
maybe so.
she said not too messy. Oh,
Maybe so. Maybe I could be wrong about that.
she said
Whatever.
not too messy. There's a go-to with the volcano. Kids love watching things explode.
Yeah,
So the
yeah.
whole part, the baking soda, vinegar, and all that, and it sizzles up. That's one. Um, Slime. The kids love making slime.
Yeah, they do. They do.
And I think it's like contact solution, glue maybe, and I think baking soda. It's just like basic ingredients you have around the house. Um,
Hmm.
Now get a Ziploc bag and food color, put in the Ziploc bag. But
Yeah.
here's the thing with slime, if you can keep it in the bag, it's actually soothing. Because as they're manipulating it, it kind of gets them, it's almost a calming mechanism.
Oh, okay.
That if you think about it, I know I'm one that I tend to if I like to have things in my hand because otherwise I'm pulling and doing all this. But if I have something in my hand, it kind of helps soothe and regulate, self-regulate. So that's
Hmm.
the good thing for kids. I've seen things even online as lava lamps, like kind of making your own lava lamp. I forgot how to do it, but there are different things, and a lot of parents can kind of go home, going home science experiments, go on a nature walk. Based
Yeah.
on where you live, actually go or look around your neighborhood. If you were in the DMV area, and actually most places, but I can speak to DMV because that's where I spent the majority of my life. Going downtown to the museums
Yes.
is a great thing, especially in Washington, D.C. Go discover Washington, D.C. Um, the museums that you have, the Air and Space Museum, you have the Natural Science Museum, you have the U.S. History Museum, you have the Native American Museum. One of my favorite museums growing up, and I think they reopened it. I don't know if it's on the same scale as it was back in the 80s, but was the Children's Museum. Now, I know there is one
Oh,
in
yeah.
Baltimore.
Hmm.
Baltimore has a phenomenal science museum for children. It's an
Hmm.
absolutely phenomenal one. Baltimore has one, and I know Philly has one because we took our
Okay.
sixth graders there.
Okay.
It's the Franklin Institute. science museum. But what's great about that, I know there's a similar one. I think it's called a Perot Museum, maybe in Florida. Florida has one too. They're actually in different areas. So I would say look for those science museums. But what's good
Okay.
about them, there's so many, they're hands-on experiments that kids can do. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's different. It's not free. Most of them are not free to get in, but it's worth it. It's an all-day event. You can go. The kids get to do experiments. I know in Baltimore, there's one part where the kids lay on the bed of nails, and the nails come up, and they actually lay on the bed of nails, and they're like, "Wait, what?" But it's like acupuncture. You think of it, it's like, "Oh, that does kind of make sense."
Yeah.
There's one where there's like a tightrope and
Mm-hmm.
it's a bicycle on the tightrope, and the kids ride across that.
Wow.
Um, I think the one in I don't know if it's Baltimore or Philly. I remember because I can see it, but I think we went Philly. But there's like a human heart. That's like a heart, and they kind of walk through the chambers of the heart. So there are science museums that are phenomenal that are in most cities.
Mm-hmm.
That the kids can kind of go in and get those hands-on sciencey type learning. But again, just going on nature walks. Let's just go outside and walk, and what do we see? Um,
Mm-hmm.
looking up at the sky and if you see the stars, some people have telescopes, some don't. There are apps that you can put even on the phone where you like sky gaze, so kind of looking at the different constellations, but just looking at the
Mm-hmm.
stars. But just kind of getting outside, doing and walking and moving. Got a few things they can do sciency. Um,
Wow. Okay. That definitely is really good. Let's see. Well, we talked a little bit about children, parents working with children in terms of their social and emotional skills. Like one of the things you suggested is maybe they pull back from technology. I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add to that or um, that's pretty much
um, having conversations,
okay.
just basic having conversations. One of the things, and part of it's a time constraint, I know, parents are doing a lot. Some parents are working 2 and 3 jobs, just to make ends meet. And
Yeah.
my heart goes out to parents that way. And they're doing things just to, again, keep the lights on, making sure we have a roof over our
True.
head, and
Very
then
true.
giving kids what they what they want, kind of giving kids, their wants and their needs. So parents will do what they can um in that. What I would say when it comes to the social emotional is having those conversations with the kids. It's actually talking, not at your child, but to your child. And as you're talking, stopping to listen to what they're saying and what they're not saying. If we think back to the way many of us were raised, a lot of us came through this children are seen and not heard mindset generation. There, of course, is that off room, like you don't, adults are talking, you don't come. And of course, there are times if there's certain conversations kids should not be a part of, should not be a part of. There are some adult conversations, no, go be a child, go play. Um, but engaging them in conversations. Um, children have so many feelings and emotions that I think sometimes as adults we discount because we say you're a kid, you can't have that emotion. But kids are feeling anger. Kids are dealing with um, depression. Kids are dealing with anxiety. Kids are dealing with stress. And they're dealing with these emotions because they don't know how to put a word on it. They don't know how to label them. And they have all these bottled up um, emotions, things they're experiencing. And if no one talks to them and say, okay, let's talk about this. Um, one of the shows I used to like was This Is Us. And I remember there was a scene that what Beth did, she pulled Randall and Tess in because they were both experiencing a bout of anxiety. And so she took a soda and kind of shook it up. And I remember her pouring the salsa soda. You know how you pour the soda and it kind of rises up and she said, no, don't drink it. Watch the bubbles and let the bubbles settle. And so they watch the bubbles. And so she said, when you're getting right there, pour your soda, think with your soda. And as the bubbles settle, that's how you're settling. And so giving them skills and things. So how do I help self-regulate what I'm doing? Um, it's really good. But those conversations are key where the child knows that they're loved. They hear that they're loved and they feel that they're loved and that what they say matters. Now I'm not saying that you have to necessarily ask your child their opinion on everything and that their opinion is the end all be all. We're going to go with what they're saying. Would not say that, but rather than actually giving them choice. Okay, it's dinner time. Do you want to eat your greens or carrots or something, and I'm just throwing something, out that way. Hey, let's plan this meal together. Here are our options. What are you thinking and why? Those why questions, the how and the why. Why do you think that? What are you feeling? Tell me more about that. Asking more open-ended questions and not the yes or no really gets a child not only to think more and dive deeper, but also to open up the communication and then listen to what they're saying and repeat back. So what I hear you telling me is so and so and so and so. Did I get this correct? No, I mean that. Okay, well, please explain, elaborate more on what you mean so I can understand and have that conversation with the child. Again, it's not about debating or arguing with the child. It's not about the child saying, well, I can talk my way out of anything. No, it's not about that, but setting a time and a place for that. But also, so the child knows one, I'm seen, I'm heard, I'm valued, I'm loved. Telling your child that every day. I see you. I hear you. You are valued. You are loved. Our kids need to hear that. Our kids need to hear that. There's so much happening in the world, and there were things that came out even on the news today. I won't go into it, but um, as I think about things that are happening with our kids, where we think they're safe and we think they are in the safe place and they are not, and they are crying on the inside. And the signs are typically there. And I'm pretty sure that as things kind of come out, if we go back and look at certain things, someone will say, I miss that. I miss that. And that's heartbreaking. That's heartbreaking when our kids have been crying out for help, but they're crying out in silence. And it's out loud, but it's silently. And we're missing it because there's so many other things that we are dealing with. And not that those things aren't important, because a lot of things that we're dealing with are important. And we're trying to juggle everything, but taking that time. And if our kids know that I see you, I hear you, I love you, you are valued, you are important, talk to me about anything, that the child knows it's a safe space. Now, there may be consequences behind the action, but there's still a safe space. And what you tell me does not change how I love you. It will not change how I see you. And so then the child becomes more comfortable talking. It may not happen overnight, because they may look at you like, why are you asking me that question? Kind of how when a kid comes to you, oh, mommy, I love you. What do you want? No, it's just like, I don't know why it's, I love you. What do you know? Answers what? What do you want? No. And the kid may just be generally saying, I love you. I just want to say, you know, I love you. And so they say, I love, then they may come because they said, because they want something, but I love you too. Come back. I love you too. You're so special. And put it back on them. Oh, I'm so glad. Oh, thank you for coming to tell mommy you love me. Give mommy a hug. Okay, go play now. Yeah. Wait, no, you just said you love me. That's all you want to tell me, right? That's all you want to, but just kind of getting that going with the child, hugging your child.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That touch, and some of this may be uncomfortable for us as adults because it may not have been how we were raised and what we're used to. Um, it may be as far as asking the child, how do you know I love you? How
Hmm.
can I show you I love you? Um, because we all have that different love language. And
Right.
so if we can learn our child's love language early on, and then they realize, oh, this is that, and this may be shown that way, all of that kind of helps build, because you look at social emotional, you look at the social well-being and your emotional well-being. So
Hmm.
it's two different things with social emotional. But understand the social part, is your child sociable? Can they be with other people?
Hmm.
Um, are you okay taking your child to someone's house and knowing your child can interact, in different settings and you won't be embarrassed because your child is, as the phrase was, acting a plum fool, when they kind of get outside. But can they interact with others? And are
Right.
they emotionally stable enough as well to interact with others?
Okay. Um, let's see. Well, one last thing I want to ask is, what are some tips for transitioning back to school after the winter break?
So most winter breaks are about 2 weeks. We can have the 2 weeks. My suggestion is do not change the routine as far as the getting up and going to bed.
Hmm.
Most kids during the winter break, they are up till 11, 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. They're playing with the games, the toys, and they are up to the wee hours of the morning and then sleep all day and then they're eating all day. Keep the schedule as close to routine as possible. So if they're used to getting up at 6 o'clock, you may say, okay, you can 6:30, but kind of getting up, getting washed up, getting dressed, and having some type of schedule. It may not be as structured as we're at the bus at 7 o'clock. You're on the bus, you've got it may not be that rigid, but kind of keep the schedule as at least the getting up and the going to bed
Hmm.
as consistent as possible. Because
Hmm.
otherwise, what's going to happen is the day or two before it's time to go back from the break, we gotta get reset back to going back. And that first day back is horrible because the kids
Hmm.
come in cranky because they done been up all night, they haven't had enough sleep.
Yeah.
The teachers come in like, okay, I know I need my coffee too because I've been used to, I haven't had my nap today. I haven't had, so we're all kind of adjusting that first day back. But if you can keep the routine as normal as possible, at least as far as getting them up and going to bed, and then having some type of activities in the daytime. Um, One of the things parents complain, and I remember they talk about this during the summertime and when COVID hit, parents are going, can you use your school stomach? Because kids were like eating, like they were eating all day. They were like, what is going on? You
Yes.
don't eat this much at school. Why are you doing? Well, one, they're just sitting there doing nothing.
Yeah.
So they're sitting
Yeah.
there just playing on the computer or they're bored. So I know I eat
Hmm.
when I'm bored. But if you have them engaged in something, then therefore they don't realize that time is kind of, past. So having some kind of schedule or routine that they're doing something during the day. But if you can keep it as close to routine as possible. Again, it doesn't have to be as strict, but I would keep it as close to that normal routine as possible. That way, you don't have to transition back after winter break. It's just a seamless kind of, okay, now we're back going to school today.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, I can say I remember those days, and my daughter's an adult now, but yeah, there were times when, the schedule would be off a little bit, but fortunately, she adjusted back to school, pretty well. So, but you're right about the routine. So, those were a lot of good tips that you shared, with us about what parents can do during the holiday. And that one about the social skills and particularly the conversation. I think that is so, so important because you're right. Our kids need to know that, they have a safe place in us. And yeah, there may be consequences because we're not trying to be their friend,
Correct.
We're trying to be their parent, but that doesn't mean that you can't be open and listen. And I always used to tell my daughter, I don't care if it's 3 o'clock in the morning. If there's something bothering you, I want you to let me know. I want you to wake me up. Don't worry. Oh, well, she'll be too tired to go to work. You let mommy handle that.
Mhm.
I want you to know that. And to this day, it's the same thing. So, um, a lot of good. Anything else you want to add as we close?
Um, During the break, especially if you have the break off, enjoy your child. Enjoy spending time with your child. Um, there's so much happening in the world around us, and tomorrow is not promised.
Yeah.
And so, as much as possible, enjoy the time with your child. Find activities you guys can do together. And again, this is if you're able to be off. Some parents don't have that luxury, but if you have that time to be off, um, spend some time with your kids. Again, as much as possible. I know sometimes, Christmas adults go in one room, kids in one room, and that's fine, but have that time where we kind of come together,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
um, and just kind of play, and talk. Um, it may be let's watch a movie, maybe let's watch a movie together. What's a good, um, family movie that we can watch together that's appropriate for the ages, and let's kind of we can talk about it, and traditions, establish traditions with your
Yes.
kids. It may be some people have traditions. We're going to bake, and
Mm-hmm.
they get together, they make gingerbread houses, and they bake, and they make cookies, and they make cupcakes, and let the kids come help you cook. You may have the next Gordon Ramsay on your hands, and you don't know.
Never know.
You don't
Wow, Sarah,
know.
you're taking me down memory lane because call me June Cleaver. But I did a lot of things like that with my daughter, and because they were just fun things to do,
Mhm.
just that engagement. And she's 28, she'll be 29 in a few days, but back when she was in school, like you said, there are things going on in the world. It wasn't as much, and I can only imagine. I mean, actually, I can't imagine what parents have to deal with now, and what the children are
Mhm.
exposed to. And you just hope that they don't become immune to the things that we see. So right, well, that was very good. And Anissa, was there anything that you wanted to add, or did you have any follow-up questions or clarification on anything?
No, all set. Very good conversation, all very good ideas. And again, just really reiterating, um, take nothing for granted and be intentional and live every day on purpose and teach your child or children the same thing, to enjoy every moment. Life is a journey and it's meant to be enjoyed. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay. All right. Well, this concludes uh this particular episode, if you want to call it. And that's all we have for tonight. So good night. Thank you.
Good night.